In the headlines, Cuba lends a hand in the post-disaster recovery of Dominica's agriculture industry. 2 local media organizations pledge to put differences aside to form one body. And a political scientist says the IPO Act does not target many badly behaved public officials. I am Andrea Levy with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this.
If you're HIV positive or have an STI, having unprotected sex with multiple partners puts them in grave danger. You will expose every partner and their present and future partners to HIV or another STI. Use a condom every time you have sex. You can live a productive life even if diagnosed with HIV. Remember, early detection is key to your survival. Be responsible, protect yourself and others. Help stop the spread of HIV and other STIs.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, the government of Cuba has promised to help Dominica in its rebuilding efforts, this time in the field of agriculture. Shortly after the hurricane, Cuban teams arrived on island to help with the restoration of electricity, clearing up paths to tourist sites, and renovation of the Colegio Primary School, among other ventures. Cuba's ambassador to Dominica, His Excellency Juan Carlos Frometa de la Rosa, said the 2 governments are in discussion for continued help on Dominica's road to recovery.
We are working also to see if it's possible to bring Cuban technicians in agriculture, because it's another area that Dominica needs help, and we are ready to offer our help to Dominica. So maybe in the near future you will see Cuban people working in the country.
Just last week, Prime Minister Skerrit announced that engineers from Cuba will be here this month to help with the island-wide re-roofing and rewiring project. And last month, Prime Minister Skerrit revealed that Cuba will be extending the length of its service to Dominica in helping with the restoration of electricity. De la Rosa reiterated his country's commitment to helping Dominica rebuild wherever possible.
Cuba took the decision to bring linemen with trucks. So it's important the technology or the tools to work. It's not only the linemen, and it's difficult to bring trucks. So maybe you could have linemen, but if you don't have trucks, you cannot do too much. So that's why we have 2 trucks with 2 teams working in Dominica, and they will be working as much as Dominica needs our help. So maybe in the future you will see Cuban constructors working in Dominica, not only to repair the houses, also the schools. We are working on it. Maybe in the near future, so you will see more Cuban working and helping Dominica.
In 2017, a team of 4 Cuban engineers spent the entire year in Dominica assessing and suggesting designs for improvements to some community roads. De la Rosa says though this team has returned home, Cuba is willing to help in this aspect of recovery if needed.
We are ready to help in this area also. Dominica needs our engineers or our architects, so we are ready to help. If the ministry needs our help, so we are ready to offer our help.
In other top stories, the executive of the Dominica Media and Communications Association and focal representative of the Media Workers Association of Dominica have responded to a call by the ACM for unity.
Recently elected president of the Association of Caribbean Media Workers, Anika Kentish, told president of the DMCA, Gavin Richards, and Carlisle John Baptist of MWAD that the backbiting amongst them has to stop. Kentish was addressing the Association of Caribbean Media Workers General Assembly in Barbados this past weekend following her election.
There is a great concern as to the state of play in Dominica. When I was there in December to do the presentation of the laptops and cell phones, etc., to the journalists of Dominica, I did express some concern about the situation there. I did say to you then that there was great concern that the National Association was unable to get its act together, and that the current crisis showed it was very important for there to be a united effort to promote media development in the country. The ACM has made it clear it will support the organization that has properly established itself and has the membership to back it.
Leading up to the General Assembly, both organizations were given up to September 2018 to complete the process to formalize itself. The DMCA has 70 members, while Carlisle John Baptist and Matt Peltier objected the decision for a new body since, according to them, they had reservations about its structure. Kentish has encouraged common ground on an association for Dominica.
We have to look at what the media workers there want and how to find a way to meet their needs. The public bickering and back and forth has got to end. Carlisle, you're here. Gavin, you're here. You are both leaders in your own right. I am going to encourage you to use that leadership to your advantage, to encourage patience and sober discussion among the Dominican media fraternity. The choice is yours. You can choose to continue the back and forth and go nowhere, or you can work towards a common ground where you can build a strong, formidable, representative body.
Richards has invited John Baptist to meet with the DMCA executive this Friday. Meantime, Carlisle John Baptist has publicly expressed on Matt Peltier's radio show that the backbiting has come to an end and he is willing to work with DMCA.
There's light down the tunnel. I must report that there's light down the tunnel. That we've discussed the likes of Peter Richards, Gavin's dad, made an intervention, Dennis Swell, Wesley Gibbons, Annika herself, Kuhn, Mason, Kenton Chance, and everybody. We have been spoken to also Julius Gittins and all the senior members of the media from across the region that we met, spoke with us and asked us to put aside our differences, and that we have done. I can tell you that we have done, and soon, pretty soon, we will see, whatever we've been asking for. We'll be speaking from one platform right after we've had our discussion. We won't be going in the media, engaging and all those backbiting and bickering. This has come to an end. I can assure you this has come to an end, and we are going to chart the way forward for the media fraternity in Dominica.
In other developments, Saturday, 14th April is the date set aside to host the 2018 Miss Teen Dominica pageant. The show, which has been a staple in Dominica's carnival calendar, was not hosted in February this year due to the effects of Hurricane Maria the previous year. The Miss Teen Dominica pageant is organized and hosted by the Waitukubuli Dance Theatre Company. Artistic director of the Dance Theatre Company, Raymond Lawrence, explained that the group had to delay the staging of the event due to the late start of school and the impact on the private sector. Currently, there are 5 schools on board, and while sponsorship has been slow, there have been favorable responses.
We met with the schools, and then they thought that right at Easter time for them would be a better time. They felt we shouldn't go into May because May is usually exam time for most schools, and they thought the children would be too preoccupied. So they thought, so the 14th of April, which is the date we decided, is the Saturday after they get back to school after the Easter break. So far, we have the Goodwill Secondary School, we have the Convent High School, we have the Portsmouth Secondary School. We also have the Northeast Comprehensive School, and we have the Castle Bruce Secondary School. So those are the 5 schools so far. It doesn't mean that if another school, on hearing this interview, wants to take part, that they couldn't call me and let me know, because we'd still be open to accepting other schools. But we do have our regular headline sponsor on board, and that's AC Shillingford and Company Limited. So they have committed to again being the headline sponsor. Queen's Jewelry again has offered to provide a crown to the winner of the competition. And there are other sponsors who have sort of given a favorable response, maybe not a confirmation yet, but favorable.
The pageant, which is normally staged at Carnival City, will now be held at the Old Mill Cultural Center. There will also be a change in the structure of various rounds of the competition.
We usually use Carnival City, but then of course we're out of the carnival season, so then we are more or less on our own. We had to try it. We looked at the forecourt of the stadium that has containers. We looked at Harlem Plaza. It doesn't have the facilities right now. The Arawak is not ready for shows. And we thought, well, why not the Old Mill? There are some slight changes we had to make it easier on the schools. The costume run, for instance, we told them that they could use recyclable materials, things that you can be disposed of and so on, like cups, spoons, and then paper, newspapers, things like that. Also natural materials like leaves and branches and flowers. The other option we also gave them was the evening, where we told them that if it was difficult to get a new dress, then they could borrow a dress. So the emphasis would not be so much on the dress this year, but the way the girl actually walks and portrays herself and her poise on stage.
While there hasn't been much talk of the Princess Show or Miss Dominica pageant for April, Lawrence says he was determined to host the Miss Teen Dominica pageant this year.
Personally, I've always felt when it comes to pageants, and other people may disagree with me, but if you have no other choice to skip a year, then, or if things, are desperate and you really cannot do the show for whatever reason, then you can skip a year. But I find with pageants, it's like the Calypso Monarch. What if we had skipped the Calypso show? I mean, how would it feel? How would it look? How would it sound? And the same way I feel that every year you need, for the pageants, if it's another show that's not a pageant, then maybe you could just say, okay, let's just leave it for next year. But last year you had a 2017 Miss Teen, and then to me you need a 2018 Miss Teen. And then what I feel too is that if times are a little more difficult and challenging like now, the show could be simplified, and so you could still have the crowning, so that at the end of the day you have a Miss Teen 2018.
The Miss Teen Dominica pageant will be held under the theme, Celebrating the Talent of Our Youth. The impact of sea swells impeded traffic mobility on the Scottshead Main Road, while some residents of the affected coastal areas continue to call for relocation. Iduna Jean-Baptiste tells us more.
While at Scottshead on Tuesday, 3 vehicles trying to make their way through got stuck in the sea sand washed up on the main road due to sea swells. The fears of residents living near the seaside heightens, especially when sun sets, causing them to go to bed uneasy.
We didn't sleep last night. We had to wake up and see what's going on before this sea, because Maria almost took us there. So anyway, we can stay there again. The Prime Minister has to do something for us, especially people living by the roadside. Even though he built a wall, we're still afraid. Because when the sea is rough, we cannot stay there. Because last night we had to wake up every time and see what's going on. It was very terrible, but today it's a little better. But yesterday wasn't good at all. Because I saw what Maria did and things are getting better. Things even getting worse. We can stay there. Because Maria burst my door, go inside my house and carry everything. Burst my door, everything. I stay without nothing during Maria.
The effect of the sea intrusion has also been compounding traffic congestion into Roseau for the past 2 days during the morning rush hour. Met Service has forecasted that the island will experience sea swells until Thursday, March 8. The Express d'Azil ferry service was also cancelled on Tuesday and Wednesday. Services are to resume on Thursday, providing that the forecast on sea swells settling down does not change.
You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more items after the break.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fenced pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Do you need more cash for that home improvement? Then come to Fast Cash, where we give you more. At Fast Cash, our customers get more funds and more time to repay. But wait, can't come to us? We'll come to you, and our mobile officer will get you on your way. Small businesses, consumers, and taxi owners. Fast Cash has more for everyone. Simply call or visit any of our locations for more. Smarter, faster, better. Fast Cash. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. A qualified political scientist is of the view that many badly behaved public officials go under the radar because of the lack of reach of the Integrity in Public Office Act. Dr. Gerard Jajac said the 2003 legislation still does not deal with what he refers to as troublesome public officials.
But the mere fact that IPO exists reminds public officials that they ought to be very careful how they conduct themselves, especially with regards to financial matters. So that, I think, maybe is the biggest role of the IPO right now, that it can be used as a tool to sensitize persons of the need for proper conduct as public officials, myself included.
Do you think that it serves its true purpose?
To suggest, if I were to say so, it would suggest that I believe that before the IPO, persons were so badly behaved that we needed the IPO to remind us. And I don't think we were. I mean, I've been in the public service for a while now. There is a lot of bad behavior. There is a lot of bad, and there will continue to be a lot of bad behavior among public officials. But the IPO doesn't even touch many of those persons who are the troublesome ones.
Jajac, whose substantive post is permanent secretary in the office of the Prime Minister, also says he does not think an IPO Act is necessary for disciplinary purposes.
And in my view, the troublesome public officers, in the sense that they're the ones who probably, whose financial matters maybe we should be under, a little more scrutiny. These, they go under the radar.
The government of Dominica has received a $600,000 donation from Harris Paints. Prime Minister Skerrit, who was on hand for the symbolic donation of 2 40-foot containers of paint, expressed gratitude for the contribution and said it will be useful in the country's rebuilding efforts.
This contribution will go towards mainly, in some cases, government buildings, some of the homes which provide care to senior citizens and to the vulnerable groups in our society. Homes where senior citizens reside and also children. So that is the general direction I will give to the Ministry of Housing in terms of the distribution of the paints. But $600,000 should not be understated. For me personally, I've always said to the citizens of Dominica and the residents that whatever we receive in time of need, we must be grateful for it. So had it been 6,000 or 60,000, we would appreciate it the very same as we are for $600,000 contribution.
CEO of Harris Paints International said the global paint producers stepped up to the task of assisting Dominica in its time of need.
And there's 77 paint companies around North America and Europe and Latin America that we're members of. And I went to them and asked them for their help, because the thing about the paint industry, it is a very tight-knit community, and we do try and help each other in times of need. And I made the case for Dominica to that community of 77 paint companies, and they stepped up. They stepped up in terms of supplying 160 pallets worth of paint that we supplied already. That alone was worth about $600,000 EC dollars. But then another company from just outside of New York stepped up and said, we want to donate some paint as well. And it wasn't just some paint, it was the 2 container loads of paint.
Minister for Housing, Reginald Austrie, commended the company for assisting Dominica's recovery efforts and said the government is committed to rebuilding the housing stock post-Hurricane Maria.
Now, we have stated, and it should be known, that the government alone cannot undertake that massive exercise. And even with the support or the obligation of the insurance companies, we're still hearing in certain quarters that even that too is going to be very inadequate to rebuild, to restock, and to replenish the housing needs of the people of Dominica. And we're moving now into a new phase of rebuilding what Maria damaged, and to continue to provide decent and affordable housing for the people of Dominica.
Harris Paints is also recognizing its 40th anniversary of operations in Dominica this year. And Prime Minister Skerritt says his government will have to dish out over $100 million to help residents across the island with re-roofing their homes. Government has allocated funds in each constituency for that program.
That we have to appreciate that this is a significant amount of money the government is making available. In Maho, it is 8.1 and growing. In Roseau Valley, it is $5.6 million. I just received the list from Woodfordale and Wesley. You're talking about 4.8 and growing in Wesley, Woodfordale. And the list goes on. So if you multiply 21 constituencies by an average of $5.6 million, you can understand how much money the government has to fetch to assist in the construction of the roofs.
Mr. Skerritt said he has taken into consideration the shortfall in insurance coverage by those whose homes are insured.
Because while some of us may have had insurance, but most of us have not received or did not receive what is the assessed damage for our homes. We were told that we were underinsured, and therefore, if you were to get 100,000, you end up getting 50, and you're unable to go to the banks to get an additional loan because you're committed. Or you may be a senior citizen and unable to attract a loan. So it's important for the government to play its part. Because while the international community will help us, and they're in fact helping us, we have to lead the reconstruction of Dominica.
This is the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for your sports highlights with Kenny Williams.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
First up in sports, Sherman Hetmyer struck his maiden ODI century and Chris Gayle his 23rd ODI 100 to help West Indies beat United Arab Emirates by 60 runs in the ICC World Cup qualifiers on Tuesday. After losing to Afghanistan and surviving a scare against UAE in the warm-ups, the Windies won the toss and went on to score 357 for 4 against the same team batting first. Hetmyer stole the spotlight with a man-of-the-match deserving performance to score 127, which included 4 sixes and 11 fours after facing 93 balls. Chris Gayle led the top order assault to finish on 123 of 91 balls, including 11 sixes and 7 fours. Set an unachievable 358 to win, UAE scored 297 for the loss of 6 wickets. UAE did not go down without a fight in their reply when Ramiz Shahzad scored his second ODI century to finish undefeated on 112 after facing 137 balls. Shaiman Anwar also had a good knock with 64. However, Jason Holder picked up 5 wickets for 53 runs to help push West Indies to the win. The Windies' next match in the competition will be against Papua New Guinea on Thursday. On the local cricket scene, there were big wins for the Pierre Charles and Castlebrew secondary schools in the Massey United Insurance Under-20 Cricket Championship on Monday. Taking a look at the PCSS versus St. Mary's Academy game, we can tell you that SMA was sent into bat and were all out for 52 runs. Ashwan Lockhart picked up 5 for 25 and Jassian Alexander 3 for 7 for Pierre Charles. In reply, PCSS were all out for 91 runs. Jassian Alexander came in with 47. Brice John Lewis snatched an impressive 8 wickets for 26 runs in 10 overs. Stephen Pascal also took 2 for 23 in 6.3 overs. In a second innings reply, SMA was all out for 69 runs, and Akim Morrow contributed 27. Jassian Alexander then went on to take 4 for 27. Jovan Bedminster 3 for 14 and Ashwan Lockhart 2 for 15. Set 31 runs to win, PCSS reached the target for the loss of 1 wicket. PCSS won that match by 9 wickets. In the other game, CBSS defeated Dominica Grammar School by 8 wickets. First at the crease, DGS was bowled out for 109 in 24.2 overs. Cody Peltier added 27 and Shirkwan Tuse 24. Von Elize then picked up a well-deserved 7 for 25 for Castlebrew Secondary. CBSS in reply were all out for 111 in 23.1 overs. Kalian Wilshire scored 24 and Von Elize 15. Ethan Ducktrove bagged 6 wickets for 42 runs and Axel Lamar 4 for 30. In a second innings reply, DGS declared on 77 for the loss of 7 wickets. Romeo Burton picked up 4 for 22 and Kalian Wilshire 3 for 11 for CBSS. Chasing 75 for victory, CBSS scored 77 for the loss of 2 wickets in 7.4 overs. Kalian Wilshire was undefeated on 46, while Abijah Benjamin was undefeated on 12. The next match is scheduled for Wednesday between Dominica Grammar School and Pierre Charles Secondary at Botanic Gardens. Meantime, while Volcanoes recently celebrated a historic feat by winning the 2018 Super 50 Cup last month, their franchise chief executive officer Gregory Shillingford is hoping for the team to continue on a winning note. Windwards left for Grenada on Sunday to take part in a mandatory fitness test and appraisal in preparation for the upcoming 4-day tournament carded for November. Windwards left for Grenada on Sunday to take part in a mandatory fitness test and appraisal in preparation for the upcoming 4-day tournament carded for November. Volcano's CEO noted the importance of Windwards cricketers preparing for the November competition, which could result in over 90 players being available for selection.
Between the captain and the coach, the captains, the coach, and other management personnel, they will strategize on what team they want to put together for the next season, 2018-2019. So they will look at performances, they will look at potential of players, and begin to, with the selectors, strategize on which players will be retained in the protective 10, which players they will try to get from the draft, which will be in May. We agreed that post-season training is going to be important towards preparation for the 4-day tournament starting in November. So between, let's say, April and November, you will have the draft, you will have new contracts, but during that time there will be training where players will work on their weaknesses, improve their strengths. The objective of all that is that we will begin a season with 90-something more players ready to contribute to high-standard competition, whereby the Cricket West Indies will be able to be satisfied that at any time they can call on players who are ready for cricket, ready for first class or elite cricket, and they can, draft them into the regional teams.
Meantime, although Volcano's efforts at the recently concluded Super 50 Cup earned them a US $10,000 check from premium sponsor Range Development, Shillingford is hoping the team will maintain their winning ways throughout any given competition. Windwards began the tournament with 3 consecutive losses, but won their remaining matches to win the championship.
The important thing is that training has to take place. We cannot afford to be losing matches at the beginning of the season by way of trying to build form. We have to build form before we get to the first match. That's how it's going to be. That's how professional sport is, and we're going to be demonstrating that we can meet those standards.
And finally, President of Dominica Cycling Association, Ronald Charles, has an ambitious goal set for local riders participating in the 2018 OECS Cycling Championships on July 1. Head of DCA says the road races are part of a plan to improve Dominica's chances in this year's competition. Last year, Dominica's first-place finisher, Bram Sanderson, was 16th overall.
And that is why the training is important. That is why the regularity of the races are important, because if we were to compete at a level on the OECS on the 1st of July, we really have to put a good team together. And this time, 2018, we really want Dominica to be represented at least in the top 10 in the OECS. And therefore, you will find that we have a group chat and we keep encouraging each other. A lot of fellas now are realizing that they have to train. For cycling, if you don't train, you can call it a day. Yes, the equipment may have issues, but you have to get your fitness at a level. You have to be on your bike, and that is what the guys are doing. You've seen guys now getting up at 4 and 3 in the morning, and they go in and train, and they're doing what they have to do so that they can do that.
Meantime, Charles addressed the mechanical challenges local riders had in the past few races, saying DCA has identified funding to assist the riders so they could focus more on improving their chances at the July 1 race. He also urged local riders to be more responsible with their equipment since they are expensive.
Let me use this opportunity to announce it, that we have already received the communication from the president of the UCI that we are getting funding. We're getting about 15,000 Swiss francs to be able to use and to be able to develop cycle. At the end of the day, it's a very expensive sport. The equipments are very expensive, tires are expensive and so forth. But at the end of the day, it comes down to individuals also taking care of their machine, of their equipment.
The next local road race is scheduled for March 18 from Woodbridge Bay to Portsmouth and back. That's all the sporting highlights for now. I am Kenny Williams. Join us next time.
To end the news, the headlines again. Cuba lends a hand in the post-disaster recovery of Dominica's agriculture industry. 2 local media organizations pledge to put differences aside to form one body. And political scientist says IPO Act does not target mainly badly behaved public officials. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Louis, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us next time.